Yo, what's up guys? Rob D. You know me from Twitter at Boiling Point LLC, right here on YouTube at Rob D. I'm going to go over the Ellipal Titan. That's their newest version, the ECO2. We're going to do some comparison between the ECO1, their original model, and we're going to take a look at some design stuff. Then we'll get into security a little bit later on. Hopefully you guys like that little intro video. Let's get right into the design. All right guys, what's up? We got the Ellipal ECO1 version, their original model. Plastic housing. Power button on the side, LCD screen. You can see that the back comes off. Charging port's right there on the top. That's for charging only. Your updates are done inside. Micro SD card goes right in there. That's your battery. It was a little bit of a pain to do updates because you had to take the back and stuff off, but nothing to nothing to complain about too much. For the security that you were getting with the Ellipal wallet, I was more than happy enough to have to take the back off every once in a while to do updates. So plastic housing. You can see there, I'm not going to go over the packaging. Came in a box with the charger, stickers, seed cards, all that stuff. Now we have the brand new ECO2 Titan. This is a metal housing, much heavier. This thing comes like in a really nice box, almost like a Rolex. Stickers in there, seed cards, information, Ellipal information. You can scan the QR code and such. Under that, you're going to see the charging cable and the magnetic charging / updating strip. So we're going to go over that stuff a little bit later. Let me put this on the side. So we're going to go over the sizing first. These two models are very comparable in size. There's some slight variations in the width and the thickness, but nothing too crazy. Very, very similar in size. Okay. So you'll notice that the Titan is going to be much heavier. This one is a plastic housing. This is a fully metal housing. I would say this is about double the weight. So that's going to be, it's a much better design. It's going to prevent against physical attacks and such. The unit also has an anti-theft mechanism built in that's going to erase the data on the wallet if there's any physical attacks detected. And the unit also has IP65 rating, which means it's dust tight and it protects against low pressure water jets from any angle. So if you guys aren't familiar with IP standards, you can look that up. There's two numbers, the 6 and the 5. So it'll go from 0 to 6. The first number is going to be your dust, and then the next number is going to be your, basically your moisture. All right, so wrapping up on the design, we also noticed that the power button is moved slightly higher up on the side, and the overall color scheme and look has been improved. As far as the size goes, Crypto Cloaks has a wallet holder for the Ellipal. Recently, a couple weeks ago, they got in touch with Ellipal. They got themselves a new Titan sent over, so they are going to revamp their design and make the adjustments necessary to have the Titan fit into their holder. It goes in for the first, I would say, the very bottom half, the very bottom quarter of the wallet, and then it gets too tight. So it's very minor adjustments they have to make. Shout out to Crypto Cloaks for hooking up with Ellipal and making a nice holder for them. So check them out, Crypto Cloaks on Twitter, and get yourself anything from hardware wallet holders, seed key holders, things like that. They do 3D printing and really awesome stuff. So shout out to them. So now we're going to dig into the major design improvement, which is the magnetic update / charging strip. All right, so I think this is a huge upgrade, and it sets the bar extremely high for cold storage solutions. The original ECO1 model required a cable that was attached in the top. The problem with that is this ended up being a design flaw and turned out to be the weakness in the wallet. Attacks could only be performed physically, like with a lost or stolen wallet, but the cable and accessible motherboard through the back was still the area that you could potentially have a security breach. So if you maintain your wallet in your possession, that would prevent this type of attack. But nonetheless, that was its weakness. Other than that, it was still air gapped. That's their main feature. So unless you got physical access to the wallet, there's no way to do any harm. There's ways where they can access the motherboard, put in a Wi-Fi radio and stuff like that. This port is only for charging. So there would have to be some major modifications. You'd have to actually solder that onto the motherboard, and all kinds of other things would have to be done to gain access to your private information. But Now that the ECO2, the Titan model, is completely sealed, these concerns are no longer an issue. You can't gain access through the screen. You can't gain access through the charging port, through the back, through the camera. And like I said, it has that anti-tamper solution where if it notices there's a breach, then it basically wipes it clean. So this thing is completely sealed. You're not getting in. People have videos up about, you know, driving a car over this thing, and it holds up perfectly fine. The screen is intact still. And this is a really, really solid design. I love it a lot. Let's see, another notable upgrade is going to be the charging strip. And this can no longer be damaged like in the ECO1 where you had the port on the top. So if you damage this little port, it was going to be pretty much useless if you couldn't charge it anymore. So I know the charging ports are, you know, the wires are real small. If you got it stuck in there and it broke off or something, you would have to basically get a, you know, a new Ellipal once the battery drained out. But with this now, you know, if this breaks, no big deal, you get a new one. So if you guys can see, the magnets are positioned to only allow one-way connection. So you can't actually have this upside down and have it. It won't. The magnets are you know, polarized backwards. So just like that. It also has a tapered design. If you guys can see, you can see the little angles here on the edges. That tapered design lines up perfectly with the way that the wallet is designed. So basically, if you get it close enough, it'll pull itself right in, and there's no need for any adjustments. So that's a really nice feature. The magnets are actually pretty solid. So this is just me holding the charging strip. It's holding itself perfectly fine, and it will take some bouncing up and down for it to disconnect. So for the size that the magnets are, they're actually pretty strong and powerful. I like them. They also have these standoffs built in on the far ends. You guys could see those. So when you actually have this in and have it down flat, there's no way for you to push down on this, push down on this. It'll stay connected. If it wasn't like that and you didn't have these standoffs on the end, it can wobble. You know, once it's laying flat, it could wobble and then pop out. You'll lose your connection and stuff like that. So that is a good design there. So the only problem I have with this is possibly in the future, I'd like to see this design, you know, with the same metal housing as the wallet itself. It's plastic right now. That's where your SD card's going to go in, and that's where your charging port's going to go in. So it would be nice to have this as a metallic housing, but it's nothing, you know, it's nothing crazy, nothing to complain about. So, you know, if that's its only complaint, it's going to be, you know, okay on my end. Let's see. The only slight flaw that I see in the design is the camera lens. So since the camera lens is not flush mounted or recessed, similar to the ECO1 model, there's a potential to damage the lens easier. So when it's actually laying down flat, instead of laying completely flat on the back metal casing, you have 2 points of contact. You're going to be laying on this part, and your second point's going to actually be on the camera itself. So there's a gap between there. So you can easily move it around. If you slam something down on it, you could potentially crack the lens or break it. The camera's actually back behind the lens, but you know, you don't want to damage that because then you pretty much wipe out the IP67 on it. So I think with the upgrades made to the housing and the charging, you know, the charging update strip, Ellipal's really done a great job with their second wallet design. Slight design improvements could be made still, but I'd give this, I'd say a 9 out of 10. And then their ECO1 model is going to be a 6.5 out of 10 on design. Ellipal's really beefed up with the security by creating this completely sealed version. And I fully expect when the next model comes out for it to be a perfect 10. So that's pretty much it on the design, guys. You saw we compared it to the ECO1 model. This is completely sealed. It's got the magnetic charging strip. Get that anywhere near it, it's going to pull itself in, as you guys can see there. So they're pretty decent magnets on there. And like I said, you can pretty much hold it up with that. That's fine. The standoffs prevent it from getting knocked out easy. But the problem that I have with it, only problem, minor problem, that's going to make this a 10 once this gets flushed out or slightly recessed. So on the next version, if they can do something where they flush this out with the back end so it's sitting perfectly flat and you don't have to worry about any kind of wobble or damage that way, I would say that as far as the design goes, this is going to be a perfect 10. I love the design of this. They really stepped up with their second model, and it is an incredible wallet. I'm going to take a look at the security next, so hang tight, guys. I'm going to show you a little clip of something before we head over to security. Peace. What's up, guys? Hopefully you like that video of Ellipal actually trying to dismantle their unit, disassemble it with heat, and trying to pull it apart and stuff. You saw that they had a tensile suction cup on there, trying to actually rip the screen out of the housing. Didn't work. You pretty much have to destroy this thing to get access. And then again, like I said before, once the unit notices that there's some tampering going on, it wipes your system completely. So what Ellipal did was they took the bread and butter of the company, the security features, the no Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth, no cellular access, no NFC, no USB, and they took that from the ECO1. They revamped the overall design of it. They made it in a metal housing, so it's physically inaccessible, and now it's actually air gapped still, like the ECO1. So now this thing is pretty much locked up tight, nice and tight. So you can't get into it physically, and you still can't get into it air gapped wise. So what Ledger actually performed tests on these recently. So they tested the ECO1. They tried to find security inefficiencies. They tried to exploit those, and we'll see what their findings are, and then we'll see what Ellipal's response was in the ECO2. Obviously, they knew about those inefficiencies prior to creating this. This has been in the works for a while. It's been out for about 3 months now, so we'll see if those same inefficiencies carry over to the new Titan. I don't think they do, but let's find out. What's up, guys? We're going to go over this Medium article that just recently came out now, that Ellipal put out. This is some Ledger testing that was recently done, and what inefficiencies were found, and what exactly Ellipal did to prevent such type attacks. So in 2018, Ellipal released their first cold wallet, and for me, I noticed them when they were fairly new. Maybe they were a couple months old at this point, and I took a look at their wallet, and I love the air-gapped security. I thought it was ingenious. I really liked the fact that there was no Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth, and all those type of things. So with any other wallet, you pretty much have to make a wired connection, and you're connected to the internet at some point to be able to move things around. And that was kind of a deal breaker for me. I actually didn't have any hardware wallet until I had the Ellipal. So all my coins were actually on Coinbase. Bitcoin and Litecoin, I had them on Coinbase. I didn't invest in any of the other ICOs and things like that. And I didn't have any of the other coins that weren't on Coinbase. So until I found the Ellipal, I was comfortable with removing my funds from Coinbase and putting them on this cold storage solution. So when they first came out, they caught a lot of attention from manufacturers and such. So Ledger is actually one of them. So Ledger performed a security test on the ECO1, which was their original model, and they actually activated Ellipal's bounty clause. They got a reward for finding the vulnerability. So Ledger presented the results at the 2019 Breaking Bitcoin convention, and then we're going to take a look at the summary below and what Ledger did to prevent further attacks. So please note that Ledger did not extract any seeds from the Ellipal ECO1. So they found five different vulnerabilities in the unit itself. We're going to take a look at if they made any corrections in ECO1 and how they made all the changes in the Titan. So Ledger found that the USB port can be modified to make it connect. In the ECO1 version, it was only possible with physical access. Without modification, the USB port only worked as a charging port. So that USB port would actually have to be soldered onto the motherboard, and you'd have to do some kind of reverse engineering with the firmware to make that work. In the Ellipal Titan, there is no USB port. You guys know that. You guys seen that it was a new charging updating strip that magnetically gets attached to the bottom. So there's no USB port at all, and then therefore that attack is no longer possible. The UART port can be modified to receive signals and connect. Ellipal released a firmware update 2.0, and that actually prevented UART access. And then with the Titan, hardware prevents physical access altogether. Therefore, this attack is no longer possible. Ledger also found that the Wi-Fi can be activated and an antenna can be installed to connect. Firmware 2.0 shut that down as well. And then in Titan, no component inside supports any type of connection. Therefore, the attack is no longer possible. So you guys can see that the ECO1 with the firmware update 2.0, they actually took care of the Wi-Fi issue and the UART problem. Their fourth finding was that dump attack can be done through a modified USB port. That's only possible with physical access and reverse engineered firmware, like we spoke about in the first issue. And then in Titan, again, there's no USB port, so it's no longer possible. Upgrade the file can be hijacked. This claim is not true. We could check Ellipal's GitHub for the verification tool. And so that wasn't true in ECO1. It's not true in ECO2. All right, so with the original model, we had that plastic housing. You were able to gain access to the back of it, which is where your SD card was located, your battery, and then there's a couple screws you could take out to gain access to the other parts inside, the motherboard and the connection, the charging port, the USB port. In the Titan, the housing is fully sealed. You saw that video of Ellipal actually trying to rip the screen out of there with heat, and it didn't work. So this thing would have to be completely destroyed for you to gain access to the inside. And again, they actually have that built-in anti-tamper device. I'll link this down below. You guys could read through the article. This is some of the other things explaining in more detail with the USB and the UART. And then the update, they did the update to take care of those two issues. Here are the key takeaways. There was vulnerabilities found in the UART and the Wi-Fi. Those were taken care of with the firmware update. It is not possible to install fake firmware through the update mechanism, as proven by Ledger. The only way to exploit the EC01 is to have physical access and enough time to do the following. So the only time this would happen is if it was lost or stolen. If you had it laying around at home, I highly doubt somebody would have all this time and tools to make this happen without you even noticing. If you had it at home or something and somebody came by and did all this. So it's only on a lost or stolen device 99.99% of the time. So again, that's going to be a user issue. If you lose or your wallet's stolen, something like that, you would probably start something up again and, put your private keys in, open that wallet up, and then shift it over to another wallet. So you'd have to have enough time to modify the UART and the USB port, install fake firmware through the modified port, access factory reboot mode and activate the Wi-Fi, attach an antenna to receive the Wi-Fi signal, and put everything back together without the user suspecting. So there's a lot of things that have to be done there. A lot of tools are probably needed for that. And there's just simply not enough time to do it while you're around somebody. So this is only in a lost or stolen case. Ellipal's response. Upon publication, Ellipal released a firmware version 2.0, which made sure a dump attack wasn't possible and prevented any modification. However, we are confident that this won't be enough for us or for the community, which sees security as a top priority. Being in crypto, everybody's main concern is security. Security and, no third-party trust. So we're going to get further in detail with the third-party trust soon. This passion for better security led to the remodel of the Ellipal cold wallet. So in September 2019, the Titan was released, which is, they built upon the vulnerabilities found with the previous EC01 model, and the Titan is both secure against remote attacks and physical attacks now. The hardware improvements included that seal, the metal housing, which is IP65 rated, dustproof, and waterproof. On top of that, Ellipal Titan includes an anti-tamper mechanism that we discussed before that helps protect your sensitive data. And also, they actually replaced the entire chipset inside to ensure that no connection is possible. So the new All-Winner A64 does not support any network connections, 4G, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and they also removed the USB port and replaced it with a contact charging port, which we went over. The Ellipal Titan is now guaranteed never to be able to connect to another device to either export or import information. Among various security reasons, Ellipal chooses to be closed source code, but remains the important parts are open source so that users can verify security. So we're going to go over what's closed on their end and what's open sourced. Their security with the QR codes and stuff like that, that stuff is open source, so people can check the GitHub and verify it and check the security on that and make sure that the company itself has no ill intent to screw anybody over, for lack of a better term. So that stuff is actually open sourced. What is closed source now is their private key creation. So another worry is about the private key creation. People often say that closed source wallets can give pre-generated private keys to users, and there's no way for users to check. Ellipal does not have malicious will towards other users, but we do have an open source code to back. But we don't have an open source code to back us up. So that is the part that's closed source, the private key creation. So nevertheless, we allow users to import their own trusted private keys to be kept safe on the Ellipal. Or another simple solution is to use passphrase and make the set of mnemonics unique only to you. So the things that are open source are, the QR code generation, the transfer of information that way. This all can be verified on GitHub. I will post links below. The thing that is closed source is the private key creation. So if that is a concern of yours, you can either import your own private keys from another wallet, or you can use their passphrase function and make the mnemonics unique to you. Last but not least, people claim that closed source hardware wallets can send user private keys back to the manufacturer. This is impossible with the Ellipal because it's already 100% connection free, meaning the keys cannot be sent anywhere. Now their final statement: almost all hardware wallets are vulnerable when an attacker gets physical access to it. Ellipal has gone above and beyond to prevent that from happening by making sure you are still protected even if your Ellipal Titan gets lost or stolen. Ellipal Titan is 100% air gap, making sure your private keys are always kept safe and isolated inside the Titan. So there you have it, guys. This test came out. This test was done. There were definitely some issues with the EC01. A couple of those issues got taken care of with the firmware update, as you can see here. The rest of the issues got solved with the increased physical security of it by making it a sealed case. That pretty much wipes out any need for concern. If the only issue I could see people having now is with the private key generation, which can be solved by importing your own private keys or using the passphrase function. So in my opinion, Ellipal is definitely the best hardware wallet out there. It is an actual cold storage solution. There's no connection at all, and that is the important part to me. There's no why. The only thing you need to do is charge it and update it, and that stuff can be done, via the charging strip and with a powered outlet. So you don't even need to plug it into your computer or anything like that to charge it. And then the updates are done with the SD card, but it actually it verifies when you put the SD card in there. It verifies that there's no other files in there that could be corrupt. So for these reasons, Ellipal security gets a 10 from me, and their original model, the EC01, I would say is probably a 7 or 8. So despite the physical issues, you wouldn't be able to break into the Ellipal unless you had physical access to it and you had enough time to do all those things we listed before. With the Titan, there's no possible way to get into it physically, and if you do, that will activate the anti-tampering mechanism inside, and that pretty much wipes away those issues. So now if you guys are interested in purchasing an Ellipal, I will post a link down below. You guys can use my referral code, and I will send you $10 in either Bitcoin, Litecoin, or Digibyte. All you have to do is touch base with me on Twitter at Boiling Point LLC and show me verification that you purchased an Ellipal, and I will get you guys some crypto sent over. They got some holiday sale bundles going on right now. You could pick up some great hardware at an affordable price. $159 right now for the Titan, the mnemonics, which is the seed key holder, and then you can get the two seed key holders, the 2 Titans for $299, which you're saving $100. Yeah, it's an incredible price. It's an incredible product, and to secure your financial freedom, to secure your financial wealth, these prices are nothing, to make sure that you're safe. So thanks guys for watching. Please feel free to hit that subscribe button. I hope you guys enjoyed this Ellipal product review. So if you guys want more information about account setups and things like that, I'm going to post some stuff down below, their Telegram channel, their website where you can find more information. I'll post some stuff on their GitHub and go from there. Just do your own research and enjoy. If you guys pick up an Ellipal Titan, enjoy it because it is an incredible piece of equipment. Take care, guys. Peace.